comfortable bed. They are swearing all the time. That's the way they know how to communicate these days. You know, it's unbelievable how many F words they can have in one sentence. You know, I can't allow my son to go to, I live in Britain, I can't allow him to go to the park these days alone because of the kids that will be there. And, you know, they're angry kids. They just wanna crush things. And we know what we're talking about. How do we get them out of bed? If you're a parent, you can agree with me. If you're a parent, especially if you have a PhD like me, then you have a book and you think the theories can work at home. Chew slowly, my son, then he goes into cruise control. It's you know, and then you have guests at the table. Bite at a time, that's a passport for 5 bites. Knowledge alone, not enough. So we can tell them what to do, we can give them information, but that is not enough. The process of behavior change is a little complicated than that. And I think you know that. I know that. I've been a coach. I'll ask CJ to send my biography. I mean, I come from a lot of experience in coaching. I actually currently work with 5 players in the Zambia national team for football. You know, we're about top 10 in Africa. And I've worked with 5 lads from the age 13, 12, up to the time they're there. And one of them, I met him when he was age 11. And he came to England, he played for Team Bath. He's now back in Zambia. He's working at the Olympic Development Center as a national football coordinator there. He did level 2 football and finished his degree at Loughborough. I mean, he has been very involved in his community around using sport and football for HIV/AIDS education. He's very close to me, almost like a son. He's an orphan coming from a poor community in Zambia. He is about 19 years old now, and that's the time we're beginning to talk about his sexual life. Can you imagine? All these years, we never went into that space. I knew that was a territory I didn't want to get into. He knew he didn't want to invite me into that, but when he was ready, we were there. But you gotta understand that it's a very complex process. It's a very complex process. As soon as you tell players, like back home, you tell them, oh guys, you know, we're going on this trip. Please, after the match, when you go out in the city, make sure, you know, you use protection. Then they laugh. As soon as you say protection, it's a joke. Why? You've taken a private issue into a public space, then that's what it is. The only way humans do handle that, it becomes a joke. And it breaks my heart how much the world, my country, the United Nations is spending so much money on these interventions, which are just a joke. And what we are missing is the opportunity to understand the complexity of the will. My role as a coach is to invest in the relationship, to build the relationship and to invest into it, like the teacher does, like the parent does, like any other adult does. But this gives us the idea of how complex this can be. This gives us the idea of how complex this can be. Where do you think is the most difficult point when you're trying to assist a player on that will? Have a look at it and think, what do you think it's a maintenance? You think maintenance?
Keep them all in.
Yeah. So, they're adopting good behaviors. How do they keep doing it? And what do you think is difficult to maintain the good?
Going back to you walk before the habits. Usually making a change to improve
think the worst enemy is comfort zone. So what you do is you get them through all that, and you get them to a comfort zone. And that's what I see in this country. When I was growing up in Zambia, we had this idea of Britain. Britain was our answer to all our human problems. You know, Britain. Wow, the idea of Britain in my geography, grade 9, 9th grade. I come here, I look at the train system, and I'm like, but you guys, you made the train. What happened? You made the train, replaced humanity, and you drifted into comfort zone. Then you go to Geneva, the whole train is first class. Notice that? They didn't allow themselves, because they knew that this train will never be ours. It will always be the English invention. So if we pick it, we can never go into comfort zone. We have to keep working with it. A little bit digression there on the train, but digital. I'll have these slides available for you on the website. You can have a look at them. Some of the things I just want to say that I think you already do and you're fantastic at and you don't realize. And as coaches, I just believe we're absolutely amazing, but we never appreciate how amazing we are and how much influence we have on these young people. We need to register what we're doing. We need to be very systematic. We're scientists, actually. We go through that process. We think of a problem, we design a hypothesis about it, how can we solve it? The whole process is scientific. We do our observations, we refine them, we go back to that, and we keep going through that. There is an example for you. Low self-esteem, this young girl comes to your program, they've got low self-esteem. How do you engage with that? Of course, you need to go to there. That's where it happens. You need to start, engaging with those questions. There, we design a hypothesis, we do observations during the session, during the times you're with the girls, wherever you go, you're observing them. You come back and refine the theory. You keep going through that process. That is science. That is science. And I think what we need to do is to start building our confidence around the things that we're good at. We heard before about creativity. A good coaching process for me is about asking good questions and responding to them. That applies in the life skills domain as well. It's not different from that. As a coach who engages with life skills, you are a critical thinker, whether you like it or not. And critical thinking is not that. And it's not that. It's not that. It's close to that, but not really. It's more than that. If there's one thing that we need to do, is to start getting to. So, I think around this whole question of life skills, there's some material in between there, but I think what we're talking about is developing questioning skills in the sport context and outside the sport context. Questioning things, having a desire to question, and being able to accept the results. So if a player comes and you think, this child really wants me to act as sort of like the father here, can I do it? No, but it's good that I asked the question. It's good that I dealt with this. I didn't just take the typical, patriarchy, masculine coaching approach of like, never bring these issues to our pitch. I try to find a more reasonable way of engaging with this. I like that bit of, I think some of the problems we face in the world today is what I call the God complex. Coaching never allows you to develop a God complex. You never get to a place where you know it all. And I think most professions are suffering from that. They know it all. You might say I'm challenging you too much here to ask you to start considering life skills, but I think it's who you are. That's who we are as coaches. We're never satisfied. You know, if this player is very good at scoring this way, we're finding out, can they do something else? Can they pass? You know, if Ronaldinho is good at all his skills, can he also play some defense? Can he do that? Can we work with him to do something else here? So whenever it's a work in progress. And I think that kind of attitude for me is what we need to sort of like get when we do our work. Sorry, I'm just going to be running through this very quickly. Why don't we have this life skills approach in the work that we do? Personally, I think we don't understand it because us guys at the university, we're asking different questions from what you're asking. You have pressure from the governing body to deliver on sports goals. There are so many other things, but some of these things is about competing priorities. There isn't a policy out there to support this kind of thinking. We are developing a policy in Zambia because we've been pressured to do that. But in this country, there isn't. Well, the routes we have in London, some of those situations, actually, if we have to look at them very carefully, there is a role, not a big one, but there is a role of the coach in that. The idea that the coach will solve all the problems is not what I'm propagating here. I'm just saying that there is a role for us to situate ourselves within that context. The way we deliver it, some people do it on a personal level. I know an amazing coach in Southampton in basketball. She works where my son goes. She's just amazing at embedding life skills and basketball skills. Absolutely amazing. But there's no one to meet her somewhere to try and see how she can actually develop that. You're just that woman, or you're just that physically handicapped person, or you're that. You just reduce to one thing. Complexity is good. It scares us, but it's good. Effective life skill-based coaching requires additional competences. We might not have these competences. I have no idea how this would work out in the UK, but I'm just engaging with you. I'm just throwing it out to you. Maybe you can join me and Kevin there. We're working with our students. We have embedded this in our undergrad program. We have now a master's program that we've just launched, which is running, and Cindy is going to be coming to be working with us on that. You know, we're trying to do these things, and we're traveling an open road. We're taking a path in the forest that nobody has taken, but we hope that others will follow in the future. But that's what we're trying. That's what we're trying to do with it. We need time. If you're going to contribute to this model, to this paradigm, to this way of thinking, we need time. We need to manage our time. You've got 40 minutes of your session. What are you going to do with it? You've got 50 minutes. Where are you going to get the extra time to embed this kind of thinking? Integrating means that we adjust our learning and our teaching. I didn't hear so much discussion about learning. I heard a lot about coaching. Coach. But you see, he talked about creating that environment where it happens. Well, that environment you were talking about is just a conducive learning environment. It's not really about skills, it's about motivation. It's about the motivational climate. Can the kids can they be enjoying all the time so they keep doing it? And if they keep doing it, they will then develop those competences. And if they develop the competences, in 10 years' time, we'll solve obesity. We won't have to spend $2 billion a year on obesity because they will have to do it. You know, so we are talking about going back to those and finding out how these young people learn. How they see things, what makes them remember. When you engage with this paradigm, with this model, you're not just working with the athlete, you're working with the sister, the brother, the family. You're working with other stakeholders that are involved in that person. What is the school doing about this? What are the parents doing about this? This person that comes to your football ground is not just a good footballer. They've got a biography behind them. They've got a history that defines who they are. And you're engaging with all that complexity. If you don't want to do this, it's a democracy. At the very least, I say, don't do harm. Because sometimes choosing not to do it could actually be doing the harm. And that's, for me, you're better off deciding to do very little because you're avoiding to do the harm. Thank you very much.